Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 4040 Club with your hosts, Bram and myself, Sheldon. And as you all know, it's a cast or a podcast or a video by 40-year-olds for pretty much the older generation of baseball players, but doesn't mean that the younger ones can't tune in and hear what we have to say. Today's video is going to be based on a couple of things in particular. We're going to be talking about the radio broadcast of the Blue Jays, and it, at the moment, no longer existing, or it could be a simulcast with the television games. And we're also going to talk about the current rules that are in Major League Baseball. So the experimental rules they're using in the Atlantic League. So, Monsieur Bram, Master of Ceremonies, lead us into it.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, we're baseball fans, 40 and better, and but anyone can enjoy it and listen. Thanks for tuning in. So there is a new rule brought in last season in Major League Baseball, and it's continuing this year. Now, it was brought in as one of the measures, I think, to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is the rule for extra innings. Starting a runner, the last person who was the last batter in the previous half inning for starts at second base. I don't know about you, but I hate this rule. I think like the runner didn't deserve it. It didn't earn to be at second base. Now I get that they want to make games shorter because they keep getting longer no matter what they try and do. It seems a couple of years ago they brought in that a relief pitcher has to finish the inning, or he has to face 3 batters at least, or finish the inning. So I don't mind that as much, but this is a fundamental, major change. And this is a beautiful game that we love that's been around for 150 years that has seen precious few, a couple of notable changes, of course, one of them being the designated hitter rule, which came in, I believe, 1973. So the pitcher in the American League doesn't bat. And the other, of course, we'll get to that. The other, of course, saves. And there's probably a couple others. But I want to talk about this one. I think it's lousy. I think they need to go back to it, to how it was before. And, you know, Todd Stottlemyre, former Blue Jays pitcher, he tweeted yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Sheldon, that he turns off the TV when it goes to extra innings now. Yeah, especially in a full season, 162 games. It's crazy. It's not baseball. I agree with Todd. What are your thoughts?
With the runner on second, extra innings, it's something that, you know, they're trying to have a quicker conclusion to the games because they feel the games are going too long. I'm not thrilled with the idea, but it's something that I can kind of live with because you do see a little bit of strategy going on with the runner on second. Are you going to punt this person over? Is someone going to drive him in? You know, things of that nature. You could use your bench.
Pinch runner.
Yeah, you can use your bench a little bit more. The 3 batter rule, I hate. I just don't.
You do.
I despise that. The universal DH, I like the expanded the playoffs. You know,
Me too.
but the thing about the runner on second, once the playoff starts, that doesn't exist anymore. So it's almost like you're playing with 2 sets of rules again. You know, it's something that you know, we grew up with the National League and the American League. You have a DH in one league, you don't have a DH in the other. And then when it comes to World Series, you're playing under 2 sets of rules. You have 1 set of rules, everybody follows it, everybody goes with it. So personally,
I agree on that.
Personally, if you're going to go with the runner on second during the regular season, use it in the postseason as well. The 3 batter rule has to go. I don't find that, you know, with expanded rosters being 27, 28 or whatever number they're going to be going with in the future, you do have enough pitchers. So it's not like you have to run these guys out there. If you need to switch them. That's part of the strategy of the game. But you know, universal DH, I liked it. It was different. Everybody was playing under 1 set of rules. Everybody had to do DH. Pitchers weren't pitching; they just focused on pitching. And the expanded playoffs, I think, was fun. especially here in Toronto. We got a chance to sneak in there and play against Tampa. You know, if they really want to make some changes, realign the division. Seriously, realign the entire league,
I'd go with
East,
that.
East and West. That's
No AL or no American League or a National League, just by geography.
Yeah.
In COVID times especially, but I think overall that's not a bad idea. I mean, the traditionalists would probably oppose that, but I think that's a relatively minor change compared to the two we're talking about.
I think personally, I think the realignment, especially with geographical realignment, it'll be less wear and tear on the players, and you could have an expanded playoff format because of it. Ideally, I'd see 8 teams make it to 6 to 8 teams make it to the playoffs every year. Ideally 8. It's almost half your league. That's not a bad idea. But yeah, as far as I know you're not thrilled with the runner on second. We both agree with it. The 3 batter rule. I think that's got to go. I just don't agree with it at all. But it's they're trying things. They're trying things that they think will capture the younger market, the young generation. But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of young people who do watch the game, who like the game the way it is. A tweak here and there might work more than trying to do a full change. But
for sure.
The powers that be, they have their own agenda and their own idea, and I'm not going to fault them for trying, but I don't know if they're looking in the right direction.
Yeah, I as I said, I don't mind the 3 batter rule so much. I think it's less of a major fundamental change than a runner on second in extra innings. But yeah, as baseball traditionalists, which we both seem to be, they are fundamental changes. Yeah, it's really it's like pitching staffs are run so differently now. It used to be when we were growing up watching baseball in the 80s, it was like the 10-man pitching staffs, 5 starters, they were expected to go like 7, 8, 9 innings, and 5 relievers. And that was the way it was when the Jays won the World Series in 1992 and 93. But now pitching staffs are like 85,000. No, it's like 13 or 14 guys. And then you only have 3 hitters on the bench or defensive players. But pitching has evolved to that degree so much that you have specialists pitching, left-handed pitching to 1 batter, left-hander. So yeah, as a traditionalist, I don't see why you can't just throw a guy out there for 6, 7 innings, and there seems to be a magical drop off at 100 pitches. It's like the pitcher's arm is going to fall off at 100 pitches. But we've seen a lot of great players, some Hall of Famers, mainly, I guess. But there's other pitchers that could go beyond 100 pitches, and if use the eye test. If the pitcher is doing well, if he's still throwing heat, if his location is still good, if the catcher and the pitcher think he's doing well, keep him in there. I'd love to see fewer pitching changes rather than that rule for sure. But if we accept the way the game's today, I'm not sure it's a horrible idea, but I would prefer to go back to the way it was. I think that if they're going to be experimenting, they should be trying this, and this leads to our next topic of our other topic in this episode of try out, if you're going to do new rules, try them out in the minor leagues first. And speaking of that, baseball announced the other day that one of the minor leagues, which is unaffiliated, I believe, so there's no major league affiliates, called the Atlantic League, is going to try 3 new rules. Do you want to outline them for us, Sheldon? The 3 new rules that they're proposing for this season that they're going to try in the Atlantic League this season.
The 2 big ones that caught my attention was pushing the pitching mound back by a foot from 60 feet 6 inches to 61 feet 6 inches. And yesterday on the MLB Network, or MLB Now, Al Leiter, Dan Flesac, and Brian Kenny, I believe, were doing a demonstration of what that could mean to pitchers. And and one of the things that Al Leiter had talked about was the possibility of injury, because now you are throwing, that 1 foot doesn't seem like a lot, you're putting more strain on the arm, the shoulder, and the entire torso when you're pitching, and your legs as well.
I can
Um,
see that.
so, and then the other one that caught my attention was the DH being in the lineup up to the point of the starting pitcher being removed. And once the starting pitcher is removed, the DH gets removed automatically. And I thought that was just, you're looking for strategy, you're not looking for confusion. And that seems to be a move based on forced confusion. And as far as I'm concerned, those are two rules that, can get tossed out the window as far as I'm concerned. Um, if you have an issue with strikeouts because 5% of a bats are leading strikeouts, apparently it's 25%, or there was a number they had bounced up with. As far as I'm concerned, that's not pitcher's fault. That is the hitting coach's fault. If hitting coaches and sabermetrics and baseball analysts and GMs, the new wave of GMs are preferring to live with the walk in the home run, and they couldn't grow with strikeouts. Well, that the onus is on them. It's not on anybody else. It's not on the game. It's actually on the hitting coaches and management. That's why people tend to gravitate towards someone like DJ LeMahieu. Yes, he hits home runs, but let's be honest here. The guy can go off the field. Take a look at Santiago Espinal when he made his arrival this year, and how he went off the field and how he was doing certain things. And you take a look at Josh Palacios, drop the bunt, beat it out. Those are things that people get excited about. It's part of the game. If these new wave of general managers and owners and hitting coaches um, prefer to be one dimensional, as far as I'm concerned, because that's what it feels like, one dimensional, then that's the way that's what they want out of the game. They don't understand, or to me, they don't seem to understand the full concept of everything that's at your disposal. One thing, sacrifice hits, going opposite field, sacrifice flies, stealing bases. Those are all important elements of the game that the game doesn't have at the moment. You have to only buy, again, someone's design. It's not by the game, it's by someone else's design. If you put a team out there that can steal 130 or 40 bases very easily, you have a base stealer who can steal 60 or 70 and have a success rate of over 80%, the game changes. But the thing is, are you going to allow, or is there going to be a general manager and a manager going to allow the players to do that? Who knows?
Yeah, I agree with most of what, I'm sorry, Reeve, go ahead.
So what I was going to say is, we've been in, we've watched this game for kids. We know it cycles to this game. Will we see the stolen base come back? I think we will. I don't know when, but the force change is one thing. Will change is another. If you take a look at the most successful teams, they have a little bit of everything. They're not, there's a reason why the 2015 and 2016 days didn't make it all the way. Their offense was literally, I want to say one-dimensional, but they were only known for power. They manufacture a run, and that was the problem at times.
Yeah.
If you take a look at this year's current crop of Blue Jays, they, their biggest win, 15-1, they did not hit a home run. They manufactured runs. So
yeah,
you can score a boatload of runs if you learn how to manufacture runs. The great Boston teams of the late 80s, they didn't hit a lot of home runs, but they can get doubles and run. They can go from first to second to home. They knew how to do certain things. They knew how to manufacture runs. Even if you go with the back-to-back world champions of the Toronto Blue Jays, they could manufacture runs. So will we see teams go back to that? Who knows? We might see this. But to me, this notion of doing this, doing that, doing the next, because you want a certain idea to be presented, and by changing the game or changing what makes the game so unique and special is it's, again, they're trying something. I don't fault them for trying, but I don't know if they're actually going down the right avenue. to get people's attention. But that's my point. Give me a team like the Montreal Expos of the '80s, and those Cardinals. Those teams were fun. Even the Blue Jays back in the mid '80s, they could run, they could steal, they can manufacture runs.
For
These
sure.
were fun to watch. You know, seeing a home run here and there, it's exciting. Seeing a home run every inning gets boring. It literally gets boring. And there's an excitement when a home run comes out of nowhere. Bobichet's home run, game winning home run against the Yankees yesterday. That was exciting. It came out of nowhere. It wasn't like these teams hit 10 home runs in that game. It just popped, and that's what you want. And everybody was excited. People were talking about it. So, get the ideology out of people's heads that home runs, and walks are the only thing you're looking at, and strikeouts are, don't worry about strikeouts. Strikeouts, as far as I'm concerned, is an empty at bat. You got to get a pitcher from time to time, but if you have in your head that you're going to try and go on launch angle and trying to launch it, 450 feet, it's not always going to work. You're not going to always be successful. I mean, Rougned Odor, best example. Dude's got power. We all know he has power. But look at strikeout numbers. Take a look at his batting average.
Yeah.
Look at his OPS.
Yeah.
And deep down, I feel he's a better player than that. I know people in Toronto may not like that idea, or may not like that statement. Rougned Odor could be a better player if he would give in a little and go opposite field. If he would drop a bunt from time to time. If he wouldn't sell it for
Work
power.
the count. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be a really, really good player. He could be an upper echelon offensive player. But if it's been trained, he's been in the minor leagues, home run, swing as hard as you can, launch angle. He's 27 now. He's going to have to kind of relearn some of the other things. I think he has it in him. I think he's a very good player when he's going right. But it's man. It's people in the game that has made the game the way it is at the current time. So you need to get people who have a broader sense of how to manufacture a run, and you'll see the game as far as I'm concerned. But as far as the other rules, I mean, those were the two that stood out for me. I wouldn't want to move the pitching on back a foot. It's not going to work. I'd rather have it the way it is, and maybe lower the mound if you think there's an issue. Raise the mound something. I know they've raised, I think it's 14 inches now. Lower it down to 8, lower it down to 6. Maybe that might work. Maybe that will force the hitters to make changes. Maybe that will force the hitting coaches to make changes. Before they do some kind of, pie in the sky idea, and they say, try the old style methods. Maybe that might work. But that's me. That's what I think. It is what it is. What do you think?
Well, you make some excellent points. First, starting with the stolen base, it is a lost art. I mean, even the great Oakland athletics teams of like 88 to 1990, they had some great sluggers like Canseco and McGuire, but they also had station-to-station runners, and of course Ricky Henderson, Hall of Famer. He would draw walk, steal second, steal third, score in a ground out or a flyout. It's a lost art, and it all seems to be about the home run now, and it is exciting. But yeah, home run at every inning. You got to play station to station to baseball. You got to know the fundamentals. You got to be able to lay down the bunt, those are two things that the Jays teams of the last at least 10 seasons don't seem to be mostly able to do. I remember there was one season was it 84, where Blue Jays outfielder Dave Collins stole, I think, 70, 80 bases. I don't think that'll ever be eclipsed. It is a lost art, unfortunately. Regarding the designated hitter, yeah, that just seems weird. Like only while the starting pitcher's in the game. I mean, to me, either go one way or the other way. I mean, I like having the designated hitter personally. I like seeing the offense. Nobody really wants to see a pitcher bat. Purists will argue that in the National League, it forces the manager to make a move. You know, if the pitcher spot is coming to bat in a clutch situation. But you know, for me, as much as I love the DH, pick one or the other. It doesn't make sense. This seems to be too much fence hitting. You know, like they're trying to appease everybody. Are you protecting only the starting pitcher, but your relief pitchers are in danger? You know, it just doesn't make sense. I think there are other bigger issues that should be addressed in baseball. For example, a little more concrete salary caps and a little more revenue sharing to make it there more parity. I mean, you look at the NFL and like any team, it seems could contend almost any year. They have a pretty good revenue sharing in the NBA too, and I think even finally in the NHL. But baseball has really lagged behind on that. That's one issue I'd like to see. Moving the pitching mound back, they tried, I think, in the early on in pro baseball, like in the late 19th century. I think they tried at one point. They had 5 balls and 4 strikes, but that's not the game that we know and love, and we know and love it because it's worked. It's worked for 150 years, and I just think that's too radical. The measures to speed up the game, I don't think either of those things is going to speed up the game. The pitching mound, moving it, raise it, lower it. I'm not sure any of those will speed up the game. It just seems to me to be tinkering for the sake of tinkering. And but the DH is certainly something that you see. You know, the American League teams have an advantage in their home parks, and the National League teams have advantages in their parks. And then, of course, it's more pronounced. It's pronounced in interleague play, but it's really noticeable in the World Series. So whoever's the home team, you know, theoretically has the advantage. So I don't like those either.
Yeah, I mean, you make great points. So let's move on to something that was controversial, had died down the last couple of days, but the non-existent radio broadcast. Not that they don't have a radio broadcast with the Blue Jays, it's simulcast. It's with the Buck Martinez and Dan Schulman and Pat Tuber.
Simulcasting the audio on the radio
Yeah.
from the audio from the television.
And that leaves Ben Wagner out of something that he enjoys doing. It leaves a lot of people who enjoy listening to the radio, hearing a different voice. Kind of leaves them out in the dark a little bit. I can tell you firsthand that when I'm working late or I'm playing a softball game, and the Jays are on the radio, I hear Ben Wagner. Boom.
We have both brought radios to the softball diamond. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Our younger teammates who are like, what's the young generation called, millennials?
Like
they look at us like, what the hell is that? They look at us like we're from Mars. But anyway, sorry, were you finished?
So, it's sometimes it's good to hear a different voice when it comes to the team. Nothing against Buck, nothing against Pat, nothing against Dan, but there's a nature to radio, and radio has always been a part of baseball, and it's always unique. That what you see on television, what you hear on television, you have to almost be very attentive when you're listening to radio. It's almost like it takes you into a kind of a realm of imagination, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to piece it in your mind, what's happening, and have a good storyteller. And Vin Scully was one of the greatest. Tom Cheek, another one. I felt that Ben Wagner was very, very good. So you're taking the intimacy of the game away from those that would like to hear it. And again, it's not a knock against Buck Martinez. It's not a knock against Pat Towler. It's not a knock against Dan Schulman. 3 very, very good play-by-play and commentators.
Some of the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's something unique when you're listening to a radio and you're hearing, Vin Scully or you're hearing Tom Cheek, or you're hearing Joe Buck, or you're hearing Tom Brenneman, or any of those individuals that you Harry Carey, whoever it might be. And I know
Ernie,
Harry Carey,
Ernie
Ernie Harwell,
Harwell. Yeah.
and I know Harry Carey did a lot of television, but there's something unique when it comes to listening to a radio. Listen to a baseball game on the radio. So hopefully, that idea, gets first. So I think personally they're waiting Ben Wagner as far as I'm concerned. But we both kind of agree that it wasn't the right decision to do that to radio. I know some of the younger generation will say, well, that's the way the media world is working. Doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah. So you made some good points, and you relayed your experiences with baseball. I have been a fan of the Blue Jays in baseball since 84, 85, and I'm always wearing the earphones when there's a Jays game on. I will even wear them at the Jays game. And people look at me again like I'm nuts, but there's commentary and explanations and stuff that you don't get from just watching. And of course the broadcasters, they have access to the announcements from the PR department, so they can tell us what's going on. I've been listening every March. After a long, cold, snowy, dark winter, it's such a pleasure to tune in to the radio on a weekend in March, and that summer is coming. Baseball's back, and it feels there's just something right about that as a fan. And then so I started listening to Tom Cheek and Jerry Howarth in '85. Of course, the late great Tom Cheek, who I had the fortune of interviewing once. I'll tell you maybe that in another episode. Jerry Howarth. There was Alan Ashby too for a time. Mike Wilner. These are all quality guys, and I agree. Nothing against Pat, Buck, or Dan. They are the best of the best. But the Jays are the only team now without a separately produced radio broadcast, and I think it's crazy. I think they need to bring it back. They need to let Ben Wagner do what he came to Toronto to do. And I know it's a cost-saving measure, and I know it's partly because of COVID to keep. I do know that for away games, Buck and Dan are doing the games from Dan from his basement here in the Toronto area, and Buck from his condo in Port Richey, just up the road from Dunedin. So I understand you're trying to keep people away, reduce the risk of exposure to COVID. But I think we can start to see a light at the end of the tunnel now with this pandemic. And I'm really hoping that Rogers will come to their senses at some point this season and bring back the radio-only broadcast. Again, I love Buck and Dan, but there's just something unique about it. Baseball is really the only major sport that lends itself to radio, or at least the one that lends itself the most to radio, because there's the runners are always going to be on the diamond. There's sort of a set, it's unique in that one team is batting at a time, and not all players of both teams are on the field. I just it kind of breaks my heart, and it's still great to be able to listen to Buck and Pat, but they're doing it a bit differently because they know they're talking for the radio and TV audiences. And I haven't seen any of the broadcasts yet. I've only been listening so far, but I don't know if it's the top quality broadcast when they're sort of doing it for TV and radio. I would never question their professionalism or their talent. But yeah, it's something that I really miss, and I hope Rogers brings it back this season.
Yep. Excellent points. We've kind of outlaid how we feel about the radio broadcast. And like I said, hopefully, Rogers kind of reverses that decision. I just don't think it would be fair to Ben that he comes here for one thing and he's doing another. This is not what he signed up.
He's essentially Hazel May now. He's a sideline or a bench reporter.
Yeah. And I think he's better than that. I think he's got more to offer to the game, and he's got more to offer to the fans of Toronto. So, that'll be it. I think we pretty much touched what we wanted to touch on. I think this was a one of those things where from time to time, for those listeners out there and those are tuning in and slowly understand who we are, from time to time we'll do one of these episodes where we talk about something that kind of got our attention, that may not be really, dealing with the game of the day or something of that nature. You know, sometimes we'll just like we're venting. This is where the age comes in, and our crankiness on certain things from time to time. But hopefully you all enjoyed it. We'll be back again soon, and
Thank you for watching.
yeah, definitely. And we'll see you guys soon. Have a
The 40/40 Club. Take care.
day for everybody.